So for creating the gunshot sounds for the rifle, I was able to find a few files to blend some synth and bullet shots from different rifles in order to create 4 different unique bullet shots instead of finding just a loop to create my own shot sound. For the sub of the gun, I reversed one of the bullet sounds and raised the low end and took out majority of the high end. For the tail's interior and exterior, I found unique space reverbs for each and edited them the way I wanted to. For the mechanics of the gun, my dad owns a handgun from being in the military, so I was able to, kind of shake that around, get a couple of those sounds recorded, then I implemented those into my own sounds. After bouncing those files, I dragged them into the default work unit and put them into a random container. I adjusted the volume of each and changed the pitch of 2 of them to be lower. My impact sounds were also placed into a random container and pitched down. Creating the reload and equip sounds of the rifle gun was a process in itself. For the reload sounds, I made all 3 very distinctive from each other. For one of them, I used more high end, while one had more mid and the other had more low end. I blended a regular pistol reloading with a sci-fi reload for all 3, but uniquely EQ'd and processed them differently to get 3 different tonal versions of reload sounds. For one of the equipped sounds, I pulled out a kitchen drawer with metal forks in them, and for the other one, I rolled the dice on the table and blended that with me running a pen through a piece of paper on a wooden table. After EQing and compressing these sounds, my equip sounds for picking up the gun in the level turned out to be very nice. For the implementation of the reload sounds, I first dropped them into the default work unit, then after that I put them into a random container. For these sounds, I lowered the volume and made play events. In the play event, I blended in the light armor sound and the reload sound, so you got a little bit of that armor sound when putting the ammunition into the gun. For the equipped sounds, I also put these into the default work unit and placed them into a random container. I lowered the volume and pitched them down a tad after hearing them implemented into my game. I thought in the play event, adding in a little bit of the light armor would be a good idea, and that turned out to work out very well for me. This is me implementing these sounds into the Unreal Engine. After using the Wise Picker to put that content into my content folder and assigning them to the correct sound bank, it was time to put them into their animation spots. After erasing the previous AK events and assigning my own in the spots I wanted them to link with the animations, I used the correct play events for each and assigned them to the AK events. Every sound had to be adjusted for timing, so going into the game and playing it was very beneficial to make corrections. Every rifle animation had a different time of AK event, and the reload especially needed time for me to go back and adjust in Wise. After I was satisfied with what came out of that, I went ahead and saved them. For the aim-in sound, I combined the sound effects of an automatic camera lens opening with the sound of a baby spilling wooden block. After blending those, I EQ'd them and placed a distortion plugin on it, and the sound came out exactly how I wanted it to. For the aim out, I used an automatic camera lens closing and the spring of a stapler sound opening. For the implementation into Wise, I simply put them into the default work unit. These two sounds did not need to be put into a random container considering they were single sounds. I lowered the volume because they were overpowering the sounds of my bullets, which made no sense to me. I pitched down the aim out and shortened the wave file and faded it out. After I implemented them into the Unreal Engine and placed them into their animation windows using AK events and a play event I made for both NYs, I saved, and this is what came out. For the implementation of the launcher sounds, this process was different than the implementation of the rifle sounds. For the majority of the sounds for the launcher weapon, I had to set up 3D specialization and attenuation. Attenuation is how far you can hear the sound and how loud it will be close up. For the explosion of the ammo of the launcher, I set the attenuation at about 30,000, which is about 30 feet. This was tested with trial and error, setting it, then going back into the game, trying it out, and then coming back to Wise and adjusting based on the sound I created. For the launcher travel, I set the max distance at about 20,000, which is about 20 feet. For the 3D specialization, you set it to the position and orientation setting. This affects how much you hear in your left and right stereo spaced headphones or sound system based on where you are and how you are turned to a specific sound in the game. After putting the content into the Unreal Engine, getting them to play inside of the Unreal Engine is also a different process than the previous sections for the launcher sounds. For the launcher travel sound, I had to make a play and stop event instead of just a play event. For these sounds, you implement the sounds into the blueprint section instead of the animation section. From there, I set my fire launcher sound into the blueprint section. Then I set the launcher travel and stop sounds into the blueprint sections, as well as the explosion sounds into the blueprint section set for that sound.